Today we're going to look at 3.3, which is on solving equations that have more than one step. Okay, all the equations we did yesterday and the day before, you either did addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Just one step. These are going to have two steps. Okay, we have to do two steps to solve them. So that's what I just said.
Again, guys, you don't have to worry about writing this down. Just kind of listen for now. If there's examples up there and you want to write them in your notebook, that's fine. But this stuff, don't worry too much about it because we're going to go over it. You get the steps.
Okay, so here it says a plumber is going to charge $42 for each hour that they're at the house doing work, and they charge a fee of $35 just to walk in through the door. Okay, so they pay the $35 right when they walk in, and then you have to pay $42 for every hour. Okay? This is going to lead into example 1, okay, from the notes. Okay? So what I want to do is figure out a formula, okay, an equation that will tell me the cost to hire the plumber for any number of hours. So if you say, all right, I had the plumber at my house for 3 hours, you can plug in 3, do some arithmetic, and it'll give us the cost. Okay. First thing you got to look at is the $35. How many times do you pay that $35 fee? Once. You only pay $35 one time. They walk through the door, you pay $35. How about the $42? You pay that every hour. You don't pay the $42 just once. Okay? So if I wanted to represent paying $42 for 1 hour, you do 42 times 1. What if I wanted to do $42 for 2 hours? 42 times 2. If I had $42 for 5 hours, it'd be 42 times 5. What about $42 for n hours? 42 times n. Okay? Where n is the number of hours. So that's how much you pay for each hour. Plus, what's the fee for them just to come through the door? 35. Okay. So there's our formula. See? This is a formula that represents the total cost to hire the plumber. $42 an hour plus $35 just for the fee to come to the house. Okay. We're going to come back to using this equation to solve a problem in a little bit. Okay, what I'm going to do in the problem is I'm going to tell you, like, the cost for the plumber was $150. How long was the plumber at the house? Well, if you know the cost was $150, you fill it in on the left-hand side, 150, and then you've got to solve for n. Okay? But it's going to be 2 steps. So before we solve a problem like that, we're going to show you the steps to do that. Okay? So the steps for solving two-step equations. Okay, the general idea Mr. Roy is going to go over, and this is something that another teacher I was watching once, they used. It's called SAM. And SAM is going to be the word that you can try to use to remember how to solve equations in this section and pretty much the rest of the year.
All right, so guys, yep, exactly. Like we did on Tuesday or yesterday and Monday, right? So you got on your little, graphic organizer there, you got 2-step equations. Well, all right, we got 2-step equations. So in that box, just like we've done all week, all right, Mr. Hager talked about SAM. So for number 1, first thing we're going to do is the S, all right, stands for simplify, which means go. You got enough room to kind of put the example to the right of it if you want on your sheet. Somebody.
Do you want to write an example on another piece of paper?
No, put the example right on there so you can see step by step how to do it.
Okay.
Okay, good question.
How do you know a problem that is like example 1?
If we ask you one of those examples on the test, we're going to say, equation sheet 3.3 example. All right, we can call one, we'll label the whole thing. Don't freak on over, okay? We'll make sure you guys know what sheet.
For today, we'll pick an example that has a number, like example 2, so you'll know. We'll make it easy.
So we're going to simplify, all right? One of two things could happen, all right? One of two things could happen. We can use the distributive property, which means we have to do what kind of math operation?
Multiplication.
Multiplication, right? Use multiplication. Or we can combine like terms. What's that mean? Huh? Or we can combine like terms. What's that mean, guys?
Distribute.
No.
Oh, okay.
Look for things that are the same, right? Look for numbers that are just numbers. Or look for numbers with variables attached. But it has to be the same number and letter together. All right? All right, so here's our example, right? So -2. And again, I want you to add to your thing, guys.
What he's writing there is if possible. That's important. You might not always have to do both these steps. In fact, today, you're never going to have to do distributive property. But you will eventually.
What?
Does that say combine or combine?
Combine, not combine. I thought it was kind of funny. All right, so here's our example, right? So we look at it. On these two things, so based on these two things, I'm going to simplify. Can we use the distributive property? Who says yes, we can?
No.
Good, no hands are coming up. We can, right? Marcus, why can't we use distributive property? What's like the little hint that tells us we're going to be doing distributive property? Hold on, Caleb. What's the hint to tell us to do distributive? Can I ask Caleb?
Yeah.
Caleb.
Quotation mark.
Right. All right. We're going to have parentheses. Is that what you meant, Caleb? Parentheses?
Yeah, that. Not quotation.
Because remember, these are quotations.
Yeah, those things. That's what I meant.
These are parentheses, those are.
Go.
All right. So again, there's no I was call them quotation marks. There's no parentheses, so we're not going to do it. So we go to our next thing. Combine like terms. Are there any like terms?
Over the.
Yeah.
There are? Where?
Well, over the equal
The
sign.
7 and the 9 because they don't have any variable.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. And you guys beat me to it. I was going to say, what about, if you said no, I was going to say, what about 7, what about 9? Here's the thing. In order to combine like terms, they have to be on the same side of the equal sign.
Oh.
If they're not on the same side, no combine, right?
You need to know that.
So guys, I don't know if you have space on there. All right, guys, listen. I don't know if you have space on there. You might want to add somewhere, kind of squeezing in. Kind of squeezing in here. Have to be on the same side of, right? They have to be on the same side of the equal sign. All right? If they're not on the same side, you can't do it. Not possible. All right? Now, we're going to get into the A, right? For the next part, it's either going to be addition or subtraction, one or the other. So, just like we've done the other ones, guys, we're going to identify the number on same side of the equal sign and do the opposite operation on both sides of the sign. So we identify the number on the same side of the equal sign as the variable, just like we've done in the past. So identify number on the same side of the equal sign as the variable. All right, so here's my example, right? In the red. So I went from doing this step right here, from the two, right? Step 2, the addition and subtraction part. I went from this right here, to that. How did I get there? How did that happen? Who can tell me by raising their hand? Kayla.
You can subtract out the 7 and bring it to the other side.
Perfect. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. Minus 7 here, minus 7 here.
But that's not right.
I screwed that up. I don't know what I was thinking. That's what you get for trying to do it at 7 o'clock at night.
You're trying to make sure you guys caught a
Exactly.
mistake.
That's what it was.
You caught it.
I don't know what I was doing.
It's good.
Good catch. What should I put, Kayla?
16?
Yep. Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, right? Again, guys, be careful. I'm not multiplying. If I'm combining, all right, both sides are the same, keep the sign, add them together. I know, like Mr. Roy, you said that about 9,000 times. You know, you think we are stupid. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that sometimes you guys get so carried away in doing the problem, trying to get it done so fast, you make little mistakes with your signs. Then we're going to take points off. All right? So negative 16, right? So now we get to step 3. So now I'm on step 3. Multiply or divide. So we're taking the stuff from Monday in 3.1 and yesterday from 3.2 and just using it for the 2-step. All right? So I'm going to multiply or divide. I'm going to identify, all right, the number with the variable. And I put in parentheses the coefficient. And divide both sides, this should say sides, so we get for doing a quarter of 7. And divide both sides of the equal sign by that number. So identify what the coefficient is and divide on both sides. All right. So this one is easy because this is again this. What was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. This means what, guys? The negative 2 next to the y. What's that mean? Katie, what's that mean? The negative 2 next to the y. What kind of math operation? It means multiplication, right? So what do I have to do to solve?
Divided by negative 2?
I'm going to divide by negative 2, right? So that, again, this is a situation where you had to use division. You may get another situation. All right? This is just like an if. If a fraction is with the variable, we gotta flip the fraction, which we call the reciprocal, and multiply both sides of the equal sign by that. So in that last step, you might get, most of the time, it's gonna be division. You're going to divide, but sometimes you might get a fraction where you have to multiply. Right? So it's not, most of the time, it's going to work out like this. All right? Sometimes it's going to be a fraction. All right? All right. So, first of all, I thought I put an answer. But I guess not. All right? So, like Katie told us, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. Y equals, what do you got, Katie?
Negative 8.
Who says negative 8?
No.
How come?
Because it's negative divided by a negative.
And you get a positive. Thank you, Marcus. Again, be careful with those signs. All right, guys, I'll leave this up there for a second so you guys can get caught up.
Okay, so we're going to be starting the examples now that could be one of the ones I asked you to put on your review sheet. Okay? So using the plumbing example that we did at the very beginning, okay, it says the plumber was at the house, well, we don't know how long. The plumber was charged them $119. Okay? We want to find out how many hours was the plumber at the house. This is the equation we came up with. $42 times how many hours he's there, plus 35. Where is this 119 going to go? Where does that get plugged in? Spencer?
No, I had a question. Are we supposed to write that down?
Yep, this is an example that you need to write.
The whole thing, where?
Where does that 119 go?
Where do you want us to write?
Put it in your notebook.
Yeah, your notebook's fine. Yeah, 119, that's the total cost. Okay? So if the plumber charged them $119, we're going to plug that in right there for the total cost.
That's including 35, right?
Yep, that's the total bill. Okay, so let's start just by filling that in, and then I'll give you guys a chance to copy it down. Okay, so now we've got our equation. So make sure you take a second and copy that down. Okay, so now we've got our equation. So remember the steps to solve it are SAM. Simplify. Is there any distributive property you need to do in this problem? Do you have parentheses you need to distribute?
No.
No, there are no parentheses. There's no distributive. Okay, so we're going through that checklist one at a time, see if we need to do it. Are there like terms on the same side that we need to combine? No. So step one, simplify. We don't have to do it in this problem. What's the A stand for in SAM? Addition or subtraction. Is there any adding or subtracting we need to do on both sides? Yeah. There is something that needs to be added or subtracted. What is it?
The 119.
Yeah, the 35 needs to be moved to the other side. How do you move it? Subtract it. Yep, from both sides. Okay, so you have 119 minus 35. You do that, you get 84.
Can we use a calculator on our homework?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Now you had a two-step equation. You're down to an equation that only has one step. What's the number we have to get rid of on the right side now? 42. Okay? That's under the M in SAM. How would we do that? Is that a multiplication or a division? What would we use to solve it? Division. What would we divide each side by?
42.
42.
Which your answer would be 2.
And 84 divided by 42 is 2. It's 2 hours. Okay, so for this plumber, if he would charge you $119, that means he was at the house 2 hours. Okay, any question on that? Most of what we're going to do is going to be more of an equation, not a word problem. Okay?
What was the number of this example?
This was example 1. Okay, example 1. That's important that you get the number down too. Okay, this is example 2A. If I put an A, that usually means there's probably going to be an example 2B and maybe a 2C. It depends. 2A, 2B, and 2C are all going to be the same type of problem, just different numbers. Okay, what's my first step? Isaiah.
Don't you subtract the 2, or add the 2 to the 2 and the 14?
Yes. So first two things we check, simplify. Any distributive property? Nope, not in this problem. In fact, you're not going to have distributive property at all today. It's not even going to happen. Okay. Next step, combine like terms on the same side. Nope, nothing to do with that. Now we go to the A in SAM, adding and subtracting. Isaiah said, yep, there's addition, we need to do a plus 2 on both sides. What's negative 2 plus 2? 0. Cancels out. 4y, what's 14 plus 2? 16. There's no more addition and subtraction. Now we're in the third step. Multiplication or division. We have to do division, yep. What do we divide each side by?
4.
Yep, 4. And 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. All we're left with is y. 16 divided by 4. 4. Very good. Okay, on the test, when you do it, that's exactly what I'd be looking for. Let's say you did plus 2 on both sides and you accidentally wrote 18. You just made a mistake adding 2. Right? I'd give you half credit because at least you did one step right. Okay? But if you just show me 4 and there's no work, you're not going to get full credit unless I see the steps and the work, steps and the answer. Okay? Yeah.
Are the problems on the test going to be set up like that?
You're going to have probably 3 or 4 just like this.
Were you allowed to use calculator?
Yep, you can use the calculator on the test. Okay, example 2b. 6 plus 2a equals 10. Okay, we'll do this one together, and then I want you guys to try the last one on your own in a minute. Okay, so somebody that didn't help us out the first time. Is there any simplifying here? Is there a distributive property? Nope. Is there combining like terms on the same side? No. So we can go right to step 2. Is there any addition or subtraction we need to do? Clayton?
Take away 6 from both sides.
Take away 6 from both sides. What's 6 take away 6? 0. That leaves me with 2a on the left. 10 take away 6 gives me 4. We're done with adding and subtracting.
Where's the other guy?
Now we're going to do multiply and divide.
Where's the
What's our next step and last step? Yep.
Divide 2 on both sides.
Divide both sides by 2.
Leave your A on one side and then divide 4 by 2 and you get 2.
Sure, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, so far the problems I've given you, they come out to a nice answer. If this was a 5, you could just leave your answer as 5 divided by 2, because it doesn't go in evenly. If I wanted a decimal, I'll make sure I ask you for it.
So, are we going to do a distributive one?
Nope, not today. The reason we gave you guys that step is because we want you to know all the steps that you could have to use. They're not necessarily going to be the steps you have to use every single time. Some problems are easier. Okay? So we will do a distributive one, but not till either tomorrow, or we might even save that for the next time. Okay, so I want you guys to try example 2c on your own. X divided by 5 plus 9 equals 13. Okay, so give that one a shot. It's 2 steps. See what you can do. Okay, so we had x divided by 5 plus 9 equals 13. There's no simplification here. Okay, so we're going to go right to step 2. Is there anything you need to add or subtract on both sides? Clayton?
minus, take away 9 from each side.
Yep. We're going to take away 9 from both sides. Okay, so that cancels out. What do we have on the left-hand side now?
Just the x over 5.
Just the x over 5. Okay. What do we have on the right-hand side? Yeah. How much? 4. Okay. 13 minus 9. That gives us 4. Now we're done with adding and subtracting. How about multiplying and dividing? Is there any multiplication or division that we need to do?
Yes.
What do we need to do?
You multiply the 5 and 5 times.
Go ahead.
You cancel out the 5,
How do you do? What do you have to do?
like multiply it against itself.
Multiply each side of the equation by
I was virgin.
5.
I did.
Okay?
I had no clue, but I got
What's-
that answer.
You have a 5 in the top and then a 5 in the bottom. What
I
happens?
thought you multiplied the 4 out of 5.
Yep, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
When you have a 5 in the top, 5 in the bottom, cancels. What's on the left-hand side now? X. What's on the right-hand side? 20. Okay, let's check
That's
it.
how I did it.
Okay, how do we check it?
Divide it.
Real clever.
How do we check it? Spencer?
You plug in the 20 for the X.
Okay, we're going to plug in 20 for X. See what we get. 20 divided by 5
That's 4.
plus 9.
Oh, plus 9, that's
Okay?
13.
If we did it right, it should come out to 13. What's 20 divided by 5? 4.
13.
What's 4 plus 9?
13.
13. That's true. Okay, so that means we did it right. Okay, any questions on that? All right. Let's try the next one. We got 5 equals negative 16 minus 3/4 y. Okay, so make sure you're copying this down.
How many examples are there gonna be?
As many as
9 examples.
Okay, so 5 equals negative 16 minus 3/4 y. Okay, what's the first thing we have to check? What does SAM stand for? Yes?
it stands for substitution, right?
Nope. Not substitution. Simplify.
Same.
Is there any distributive property we need to do? No. Any combining like terms on the same side? No. So we're going to go to adding and subtracting. Is there any adding or subtracting we need to do here?
Yes.
Yes. What do we need to do? Plus 16 where?
To the 3/4 and 16.
Can't add 16 to 3/4 because that has a y.
Plus 16 cancels out, and then you do 5 plus
So we're going to add the 16 to
5.
the 16
16.
and the 5.
16 cancels out.
16 cancels out. What's 16 plus 5?
21.
21.
Why is he so smart?
Now what do we do? Okay, Mr. Roy mentioned this earlier. If you get a fraction, this is the first time we've gotten a fraction. We're done with adding and subtracting, but now we're in the multiply and divide step. But this is a special case when you have a fraction in front. Yep. Multiply by the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of negative 3/4?
4/3.
Close.
Negative 4.
Right, reciprocal means to flip.
Don't change the sign.
Don't change the sign.
Same distance.
Okay? What happens on the right-hand side?
Absolute
We have to
value.
do 21 over 1.
What happens on the right-hand side with negative 3/4?
They cancel.
They cancel out. Okay. Now on the left-hand side, you have a choice. You can either reduce it now, or you're going to have to reduce it later. Okay, yep, you can do 21 over 1.
That's
And now what? What do we want to, what could, there's something you could do first here that would make your numbers a little smaller if you want to do that. Isaiah?
you reduce the 3 and the 21
How many times does 3 go into 3?
once.
How many times does it go into 21?
7.
7. So now all we're left with is negative 4 times 7. How much?
That's
That's
yeah, negative 2.
Negative 28. Now, if you didn't like the variable on the right, nobody mentioned this, but you could have switched it to start. Okay, nobody mentioned it, so I didn't do it that way. But you could have. Questions on that?
The only thing I'm confused on is like after the equal sign, like you multiply, right?
What's that?
Like I got all the behind the equal sign, like the equation.
Yep, so here we just multiplied. Negative 4 times 7. We got negative 28.
Oh, you do the bottom to the top first.
Well, Isaiah wanted to reduce 3 into 21 to make the number smaller. Okay? Okay, try this one.
So guys, on this one, right? on this one, right? Just by looking at it, I don't want you to solve it. Pay attention, guys. These two are starting to get on my nerves. It's okay, though. You can quickly get off them by paying attention. Hey, Mr. Ryan, never. All right, for this one. Sam S. Mr. Ryan, come on, man. The first step, right, on our steps for solving two-step equations. What is it? Huh? Simplify. We're looking for two things to happen, right? Looking for two things. What are those two things? What's one of them? Tell me. It's one thing you have to do to simplify. I'm begging. CLT. Combine like terms. Emma, are there any like terms?
No.
Only because what about positive 7, negative 5? No, right? They have to be what?
On the same side.
Same sign.
Beautiful. Same side of the equal sign. We don't have that. What's the other thing in the simplified part? Kate, oh, she left. The other Sam. What's the other possible thing we could do to simplify? We did combine like terms. What's the other thing? I got this right here. I'm over here. I'm outside, and I come in. Then I go outside again. And I go this thing way over here. What do we call that? Starts with a D. Distributive property. That was my distributive property. One number here, multiplied by that one. One number here.
Distributive property.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. Huh? Here's the number here. I'm going to multiply by that number.
No, I know what you're saying, but I don't know how to.
Guys, I'm trying to liven it up, all right? It's the last period of the day. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah, give me my break.
All right? So listen. No distributive, right? None at all. So now we get to simplify. Calm down, guys. Whoa. What's the next part? What's the next step? Huh? Adding and subtracting. Am I in this? Don't tell me what I'm going to do. Am I going to in this problem? Am I going to add or am I going to subtract? Okay. So I know my first step is going to be subtract. My second step is going to be what? Once I do that. So I get to the last part, all right, to solve, right? What am I going to do? What's the last step in my two-step? I'm going to multiply. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you have the hints you need. You know you're going to subtract, and you know you're going to multiply. Now solve.
Okay, so we already know our first step is to subtract. What do you have to subtract on both sides? 7 minus 7. Most people did really good with this. Negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12. Okay? Now, what do you multiply each side by? To get rid of that negative 2/3. Okay, what do you multiply each side by? Yep. Go ahead. Yep. Negative 3 over 2. Okay, we're going to multiply the left side by negative 3 over 2. And the right side. Okay, now this is where people are getting confused. They're like, do I do it on a diagonal or do I go straight across? Depends what you're doing. If you're just going to multiply this out, you go straight across. If you're going to reduce first, that's usually on a diagonal. But there's a difference between reducing and then multiplying straight across. Okay? Reducing means you look for a common factor in the top and the bottom. 2 goes into 2 once. How many times does 2 go into 12? 6. And don't forget, the negative is still in front. What's negative 6 times negative 3? 18. Okay, 18. And that's what you should have gotten, 18. And in the bottom, it's just 1 times 1, so there is no denominator. Okay? All right. So now we're going to try a couple equations where you have to actually do the simplify step. Okay? You might just try one of these, we'll see. Okay? So I want you to look at that, copy it down, think about it. There's 2 steps under simplify. Okay, what's your first step? And you have to do them in the order that I wrote them. Distributive is always the first thing you do, if you can. Is there a distributive property here? No. Distributive property is when you have something like this. You have a number on the outside and you have to multiply it by numbers on the inside. Okay? There's no distributive property.
What's that?
Is there a combining like terms though? Yes.
It's a Z. Wait, those are Z's? Yes.
Yeah, that would be a 2. That's a Z. To make it clear that it's a Z, but it's not working.
No, it's not.
All right.
That's a pig.
I don't know why.
You guys are picky. Okay? Start on your left-hand side. Any like terms you can combine there. Let me read the problem. It's 8 minus negative 3 equals 7 plus 5z minus 6z. If there wasn't a letter, you couldn't solve it. There's got to be a letter in there somewhere. So what's 8 minus negative 3?
Oh, the
8 minus negative 3 turns into a positive. So what's 8 plus 3? 11. Okay? Is there any more like terms on the other side?
Yes.
What?
Positive 5Z.
Positive 5z,
Negative 6Z.
negative 6z. How about the 7? Is there anything to combine that with? No. What's 5z? Take away 6z.
Elijah, why is it positive 5 and negative 6? Why can't it be negative 5 and positive 6?
Because that's the way the problem works.
Okay, well, how do you know that? How do you know it's positive and negative? Chelsea, tell me.
Because of the sign that doesn't run.
The sign to the left, right? The sign to the left. Mr. Roy, we know that. We're big freshmen now. I guarantee you, people make mistakes with signs. That's why I bring it up. I'm not treating you like kindergartners. I'm just saying, I've seen it 100 times. People make mistakes with signs. Don't think it's like little kid work to actually circle the sign that goes with it. It saves you a lot of hassle at the end, I promise.
Okay, so what do we get? Positive 5z, take away 6z. Negative what?
Negative 1Z.
Yep, negative 1z. Okay. 2 steps left. What's our next step? Okay?
Take away 7 from both sides.
Take away 7 from both sides. 7 minus 7 is 0. What's 11 minus 7? 4. Now, what number is in front of z, even though we don't see it?
1.
A 1. So that might help to write it. Because that gives us a hint what we have to divide each side by to finish this up. What do we have to divide each side by to get z? Negative 1. Negative 1. What's 4 divided by negative 1?
Negative 4.
Yep, negative 4
Z
equals what's on the right side?
Z.
Z.
But is that a 1 and a 3 and a
Okay.
thing?
So there's negative 4 equals z. Okay, so that had an extra step. First you had to simplify, then you could do your adding and subtracting, then you're multiplying and dividing. Okay, next one is example 5A. It says 5 times Mary's age decreased by 17 is 28. So make sure you get this for your notes. 5 times Mary's age decreased by 17 is 28. Okay. What don't we know? What are they asking for in this problem?
The age of Mary.
The age of Mary. Since we don't know Mary's age, what would be a good variable to represent Mary's age? M. Okay? So now we've got to set up an equation. We're just going to read it word by word. 5 times Mary's age. How would you write that? 5M. Now it says 5 times Mary's age decreased by 17. What's decreased by? Minus. What about is?
Equals.
Is means equals. I taught you guys that yesterday. 5 times Mary's age decreased by 17 is what?
28.
28. How do we solve that?
Plus 17.
Plus 17. Okay, guys, pay attention. We still got 4 minutes. Okay, what's 28 plus 17? 40. I heard someone say it. 45. And we still have 5M. Now, how do we solve that?
5.
This is multiplication. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. What do we divide by?
5 can they cancel each other out?
Divide by 5. Divide by 5.
Cancel.
How old is Mary? 9.
She's young.
Okay, Mary's 9. Okay, so guys, I'm going to go back. I'm going to tell you the problem that I want you to have. That's the key problem I might ask you about on the test. It's example 2A. Example 2A is the key problem for today.
So that's a homework we have to do?
That you need on your review
Oh
sheet.
my god.
This is your homework for tonight.
I can easily do those. Those aren't a lot.
Oh my god.
Page 99,
What's the example?
1 through 27
Mine is up
odd.
here too, guys, so you know.
Go home and I'm gonna do my homework and then my dad.
Okay, so again, the homework for tonight, page 99. 1 to 27, 31 to 37, just the odds.